Hello everyone! Today I want to show you how AI systems actually go from an idea to something that writes your text, recommends your next movie, or even helps you decide if you get a job interview. And if you are preparing for AIGP exam, this video would help you understand the basics of AI lifecycle and give you tips on what has to be considered during each of the stages. We will unpack 4 stages of AI development, also called AI lifecycle. But this isn't just for tech people. I will break down how personal data and copyrighted content get swept into AI. We will talk about the critical role of data wrangling, and we will explain what it is if you have never heard of that. And we will talk why testing, privacy-enhancing techniques, PATs, and continuous monitoring matter at every step of the way. So whether you work in AI, law, or maybe you are founder of AI startup, or you just care about how AI affects your life, this is essential knowledge. Stage 1 is design. It all starts with the design. The team defines what AI should do. Basically, this is the analysis of needs of your business and assessing if AI is the best solution for your business. Maybe it's not. Do we have enough data, resources, and knowledge to develop AI? Next, we need to think at this stage what requirements and safeguards are needed. Then you have to do preliminary risk analysis. And also you would think how to avoid privacy and copyright mistakes from the start. So basically at this stage, you are planning everything and trying to prevent the risks. Well, take health AI predicting heart disease risk. During design, they decide what data is essential, age, weight, or medical history, but they also exclude unnecessary personal identifiers. Now, let's think about ChatGPT or some other LLM. Training requires massive amounts of data, and that often means scrapping the internet and personal data. Problem is that a lot of content is not only personal data, but it also might be copyrighted, books, articles, code, artwork, and this creates legal and privacy risks. Well, personal data scraping, let me make a note here, it's under regulation by most of data protection laws. So smart teams at this stage also explore privacy-enhancing techniques, PATs, like federated learning, which lets AI learn from data stored on user devices without centralizing it. It helps to reduce privacy exposure. Or they can look at some other possible techniques on the market. But the best tip is, the better you plan and think ahead about your AI, the better chance is to develop trustworthy AI and reduce future reputational and financial losses. Stage 2, development. Before AI models can be trained and developed as a child, there is a fundamental step that happens quietly in the background: data collection. And how this is done makes or breaks your AI project, both technically and legally. Before touching any data set, responsible teams ask, what problem is AI solving? What data is essential for that? What data is legally or ethically off limits? For example, building an AI to recommend movies. You might need viewing history, genres, user ratings, but not sensitive personal data like location or health data or sexual preferences. jumping ahead and collecting everything you can, which some mistakes that sometimes founders and teams make, often leads to privacy violations, unnecessary data processing. Well, that's against GDPR, CCPA, PIPEDA, and many other data protection laws. Increased security and compliance risks. So once the requirements are clear, data comes from internal company data, customer databases, transactions history, and so on. Public data sets like government statistics or open academic data sets. Web scraping, pulling text, images, or code from internet, the most risky one. Purchased third-party data sets. And user-generated data from apps or platforms. What risks do we have here at that stage? First of all, public data sets may contain hidden biases. Secondly, web scraping often grabs copyrighted content. Well, this is triggering legal risks. Third-party data sets may lack transparency on how they were collected. And this is also a huge risk of using personal data, for example. User-generated data may include personal information requiring consent, or you may have some other legal basis, but generally for AI you would need consent. So once the plan is set and the data is collected, development begins. And after you have collected responsibly data and checked it, the raw data goes through data wrangling. What is data wrangling? Data wrangling is a process of clearing, organizing, and transforming raw data sets to data that is usable for AI training. Well, think of it like preparing ingredients before cooking. Messy, but it's crucial. What it includes? It includes removing duplicates and irrelevant information, fixing errors and inconsistencies. You also may standardize the formats, and, well, good practice here would be to anonymize personal data where it is possible. For example, if the AI is trained on transaction data, wrangling ensures that credit card numbers or names are striped out if not needed. But teams here have to be really careful. Poor data wrangling can lead to numerous risks for your company. First of all, there might be privacy breaches exposing personal data. Secondly, you might get biases creeping into your AI and again leading to reputational risks and financial risks then, or lawsuits. Then copyrighted material might get embedded without permissions. What happens after wrangling? So AI is trained on labeled examples, learning patterns and making predictions. But it doesn't stop here. At this stage, you also do the preliminary testing. Teams run the AI through the validation data and stress tests to check, is AI accurate? Is it fair? Does it avoid privacy or copyright violations that we have just discussed? This is really crucial before moving into next stages. The reason is simple. The better you clean your data, the better you prepare your data, the better you train your model, well, the better AI you would get. Stage 3 is AI implementation, or basically putting AI to work. Once tested and validated, the AI system is deployed in the real world, where, well, that might be on the website, that might be on the mobile app or a banking system. This phase includes integrating AI into a technical environment, applying privacy-friendly default settings, well, users shouldn't hunt for opt-outs, right? And implementing content filters or generative AI to avoid accidental reproduction of copyrighted material. But launching AI is not a finish line. You can't just let it into the real world and let it slide. That brings us to arguably, I would say, most critical and often underestimated phase. This phase is phase number 4, continuous monitoring and post-implementation risk management. So once AI is live, your work doesn't stop. In fact, there is where many failures happen, when AI systems aren't properly monitored and checked. Well, here's what responsible AI teams do after deployment. They have continuous monitoring of AI outputs. Why do we do this? We do this to detect errors, biases, or any privacy issues that come out. Then, retesting of AI at regular intervals. This helps us ensure that accuracy hasn't degraded. Then, we watch for unintended consequences. For example, generative AI models producing outputs that mimic copyrighted works. Then, we also might think of implementing some real-time safeguards to keep our AI well protected. It has to be safe and secure, right? We can do some extra alerts for unusual patterns, feedback loops from users, or we can again add some more paths if we are changing the model. What else we can do? We also can plan for retraining of the model when it is needed, when the AI performance drops or risks emerge. We also, at this point, might think of stopping our AI model. Well, this happens when supervisory authorities found something wrong or you did. Let's not forget, AI that adapts or learns post-production carries extra risk. And without this proper monitoring and post-deployment work, these systems can drift away from intended and compliant behavior. Companies that ignore that, well, they are often the ones that end up in the headlines or in the courtroom. Want to know more? Want to learn deeper about each stage? Because here we're observing just bits and pieces. It's obvious that at each of the stages, we have many more details and practical questions to consider. When you are doing the risk assessments and while the tests, you might think of looking at risk frameworks that exist right now. You also need to do the legal risks, but it's not what this video is about. In this video, we were doing a short overview of the stages. And if you want to learn more, you can grab on Amazon my latest book on AIGP. And here in this book, we have not only the parts about how AI learns and this brief information, we have huge part on AI governance that allows you to understand each step deeper, more than 100 pages. And all of the book is 500 pages plus, allowing you to learn all and many more in details. Don't forget to click subscribe and watch new videos.